The day has come. The moment has arrived. The hour is nigh. PSG versus Real Madrid in the semifinals of the FIFA Club World Cup. People may think that, because I've been, talking about Barca, this thing, Ballon d'Or, this, that, and the other, that I got a Barca agenda. And which I will say recently, yes, I have developed one. But guys, the original Spanish ops, it is not Barcelona. It is 𝙀𝙬𝙬𝙬. It is Real Madrid. They are the ops. The fugaziness, the fouls that are not called, the ridiculous penalties given, all this stuff. Real Madrid are the ops. This game means something. This is, guys, I'm saying this right now. This is more than a football game. This is spiritual warfare. For those who are awake, pour ceux qui sont réveillés, for those who are awake, this game is spiritual warfare. This is the light against the darkness. Do not let Madrid playing in white masquerade, you guys. This is spiritual warfare. This is voila, but let's not get too philosophical, too spiritual. I think there's no better way to start here than, I'm assuming you guys knew it was gonna come at some point, than to talk about the man, the myth, the legend himself, Kiki de Bondy, 𝙊𝙬𝙖𝙞𝙬𝙀 𝙀𝙀𝙬𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀𝙀 le dictateur Mobutu, who 11 hours ago, as of the recording of this video, which we are roughly 5 hours before kickoff, posted this on his Instagram story. This is a picture of him at the Parc des Princes. I'm assuming this is last season. Celebrating, arms open, with the goat in the background. I don't know what's happened to him ever since he's gotten to Spain. Trying to imitate 𝙀𝙾𝙊𝘾𝙼𝙎𝙏. Some people will go and say, he's just, it's just a picture. Guys, come on. Come on, guys, come on. Let's be serious here. Be serious. We know Kylian Mbappe. This guy doesn't do things just at random. It's calculated. He knows what he's doing. Il sait ce qu'il fait. It's to remind. He knows there's going to be PSG fans in the stands. Ultras, that may be. He knows that, he recently, started a complaint against PSG for, moral harassment on trying to, get him to stay at PSG. Then took it out. The guy, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he is doing. But let me first and foremost, because I think, especially for a lot of non-PSG supporters, I don't think you guys understand the rapport, Mbappe and PSG, how the situation is. You see, sporting-wise, strictly looking at it sporting-wise, you can make the case that Mbappe is PSG's best ever player. And nobody can take that. He's got your most goals. I think he's in your top 3 for the most assists. He's been there for the best period of your club's history. He allowed your team to make it to its first final, get to the semifinals, got to a semifinal last year once again. He's been there in key moments. He's been there. Yes, of course, he's also been moments where, he's had stinkers, but globally, generally speaking with PSG, when he puts on that PSG shirt, he respects it and he performs on the pitch. And for that, you can say he's probably the best ever player to play for PSG. On top of the fact he's also French, he's Parisian, he came young. You can almost see him as like somebody who grew up with the club. By UEFA's book, when he was at PSG, he was seen as a homegrown talent because he came at 18. What people don't know, though, is that Mbappe at PSG, luckily this game is being played, in New York, so it's not in Paris or anything. But were this game to be played at the Parc des Princes, I said it in the past, and I'll say it again, it'd be half and half. Some people would be cheering him on, showing their respects, whilst others would be booing him. He's a polarizing character at PSG. He's had, the way he left last year was catastrophic. The things he's said, the thing he's done to disrespect the club, saying that if he, put his future on winning a Champions League, he would have left PSG a long time ago. Pretty ironic, given recent circumstances, but hey, we'll not stay on that point. The moments of, pivot gangs saying that he's not really happy with it. He's better, he feels more comfortable, in the national team because, he's got people to, play off of, all this stuff. I'm not going to get into the laundry list of things that he said in the past. But this means something. It's personal, not only for the club, but I think also for the players to a certain degree. Because last year, coming into that season, PSG got rid of Neymar for him, got rid of Messi for him, got rid of Verratti for him. He was now the star of the project. Not only did we get rid of those players, The summer before, we got Luis Campos, our current sporting manager, was brought in because he knew Mbappe at Monaco. We brought all his friends last year. Hernandez, Colomwani, Dembele. Everything was around him. He was made a co-captain. All the things. This was meant to be his team for the future. He could have been a staple. And of course, we knew at one point he was going to go to Madrid, so on and so forth. It's been, the club. It's the club he grew up with. No issues. But everything was, he was given the keys. And he says, nah, I'm going to dip. After having a good season last year. And so that's okay. So that's why, for the players to go and show, you left us, we're better without you. The club says, we don't... Ever since Mbappe has started playing football, a team has won the Champions League without him. This season, that's what Leonardo said. This was the summer before. This was 2 seasons ago. They said that every single, in the 7 years that Mbappe's been at the club, 6 years or whatnot at the time it was, a team has won the Champions League without Mbappe. So go and show you do not need Mbappe to win you the Champions League. And it showed its dividends this year. But there, this is PSG against Real Madrid, not PSG against Mbappe. But I know that on both sides, Mbappe is going to want to have the game of his life. PSG players are going to want to have the game of their lives against him. Marquinhos, I know that's not your type of play, but you're getting up there in age. Just let him know you're there. Just first couple 5 minutes, just give him a nice tackle. Just let him know you're there. Voila. But to get onto the game, I want to go and say this and put this into context and actually talk about Real Madrid and PSG. I think it's important to set the stage and really put things into context. This game means way more for Real Madrid than it does PSG. There is a lot more on the line for Real Madrid than PSG. Because we'll talk about it from PSG's perspective. Yes, of course, if you were to lose to Real Madrid, it's a team that historically you've not been able to beat. I think the last time PSG knocked out Madrid, because we have been able to get wins against them, but knocked out Madrid in a competition was back in 1994. Before my time. Well before my time. Historically, you think 2017, you think 2022, all those times afterwards, never been able to knock them out. So historically, it's a team that we just haven't been able to beat. Top of the fact, the craziness, all this stuff, taking Mbappe, all this stuff, it means something there. To be able to go and knock out European royalty would mean something. However, if PSG go and lose, not to go and say because people are going to say excuses, you can understand those mitigating circumstances, we'll call them that. It still hurt, yes, it still be a bit disappointing based on how good you've been, but you will go and say, first and foremost, you got to a semi-final of a Club World Cup, which is already very honorable, after a very, very long season where you've played over 60 games, you've competed in every single competition, you've been in contention to win every single competition to the last moments, going out to Real Madrid, European royalty, for all the stuff I have to my hate for the club, you got to respect the institution. That's not a bad way to go. Whereas you compare that to Real Madrid, who already, off the backs of getting PSG's best ever player, the season before, winning the Champions League, winning La Liga with 10 points to spare, winning the Super Cup. To this season, the only trophies you were able to win were sort of, lingering off of the success you had last season in the Intercontinental Cup, and the UEFA Super Cup. But apart from that, nothing else. After getting the supposed best player in the world, or one of the best players in the world, from the team that you're going to face in PSG, for them to go and win everything this season. On top of that, to then go and get knocked out by them, I think it means way more. This tournament was in some respects, going and salvaging Real Madrid's season. If Real Madrid lose this game, their season goes from bad to even worse. Even though, yes, you could argue that there's, progression, it's a new manager, all this stuff, so on and so forth. Yes, of course. But Madrid need this win more than PSG needed. I think it's important to state that. Now, as to get on to the actual game, obviously we've seen that both teams are going to be hampered to a certain degree. PSG, first and foremost, with Pacho getting a red card. And once again, a deserved red card. I don't think there's any real discussion for it. I saw it live. First time, I wasn't really sure. Saw the replay first one I saw, I'm like, you can't really argue with that. The Hernandez one, on the other hand, I could also see that. But I think, especially in the context of the game, some of the stuff that Bayern was given or wasn't given. But hey, we're not here to, we can't cry over spoiled milk. What's done is done. We move on. So both Pacho and Hernandez, not only are they out for this game, but they're out for the next game, were PSG to progress. Whereas 𝙀𝙖𝘖𝘶 in the last stages of the Dortmund-Real game, brings down 𝙀𝙼𝘖, red card. It's a clear goal scoring opportunity. Yes, it's not a dangerous tackle. It's not a rash tackle. So I can understand the 1-game suspension. However, what I will say, I do think, even though Pacho, you could argue defending-wise, is probably our best defender in terms of defending, I think will have less of an impact on PSG than Dean Huijsen. Just because Dean Huijsen, yes, he could argue he's not been there as long, so on and so forth, but he's been a key piece, if you want, queen on the chessboard for Real Madrid this season, or in these early stages of Xabi Alonso ball. Everything's been going around him. He's been the first one to get the ball, to play it out, so on and so forth. And I think losing him is going to affect them a lot more than it's going to affect us. Not to say that losing Pacho is going to affect us. It certainly will. Pacho's somebody who's not afraid to get into a tackle, so it will affect us. But I think the fact that PSG have played games without Pacho in the past, have been together for a longer of time, there's a lot more understanding and cohesiveness between the players. I think it's going to be felt a lot less. On top of that, I think it's going to be interesting to see how Madrid decide to line up, because and specifically up front, I think in the midfield, there's no issues. It's probably going to be either 𝙬𝙬𝘾𝙼𝘾𝘼, Bellingham, as well as 𝙬𝙬𝘾𝙼𝘾𝘼. You're going to have Trent and Fran Garcia on the wings. I'm assuming you're going to go back to, I don't know if you're going to do a back three or if you're going to do back two, how that's going to be set up. But where I'm really curious to see what Xabi Alonso decides to do is up front. Do you start 𝙎𝙬𝘾𝙼𝘆 Garcia still? And it's sort of hard to, based on form, he's been, I think, pretty clearly, I would say, the best player in this Club World Cup, getting a goal contribution, if I'm not mistaken, every single game he's been in. Do you allow him to continue on this good move? Or do you go on? Do you start MBAPPE, start Vinny? How does it go on from there? Because unless they go and play with the front three, which they've not been doing nearly as much, do you take off Gonçalo Garcia to put in MBAPPE to start against his former team? Does Vinny start? I think there's going to be some big decisions for Xabi Alonso to go and do, especially with the team that's, yes, coming into it, but has only played, 5 games thus far? So it's going to be interesting to see how he does. Whereas for Luis Enrique, yes, you do sort of have a similar-ish issue where you're not really sure what's your best front three, but regardless of what it is, that front three's been playing together, at least together as a cohesive unit for the last 6 months, ever since 𝙀𝙀𝙖𝙀 came. So I think there's a pretty good guarantee that I think 𝙀𝙀𝘾𝘼𝘆 Dembélé is going to start this game as a 9, most likely 𝙀𝙀𝙀 off the left, and then the only doubt is going to be whether you put 𝙀𝙀𝙀 on the right or Désiré Doué on the right. And whichever way you go, you saw 𝙀𝙀𝙀 in the last game, even though he didn't get any GA, he was absolutely terrific. Doué, even though I think in the game, the performance, if you want to go and look out, intrinsically maybe wasn't as good, still scores your goal. And in big games, he turns up. So whoever you put there, it's going to be tough. And especially knowing that they're going to be facing, on that right-hand side, Fran Garcia, who, yes, is going to look a lot better against with Xabi Alonso, but he isn't, prime Marcelo either. So I think there's going to be a lot of worry there on that left-hand side for Real Madrid. And not to note the fact that PSG, our team, where the front three is extremely fluid. You have 𝙀𝙀𝙀 sometimes coming to the middle, Dembélé going on to the right, 𝙀𝙀𝙀, Doué going back onto the left, changing, Dembélé dropping Diba as like a 10, doing all those permutations. And I think especially defenders like Asensio and Rudiger, who really like to have their man, grab them by the shoulder, let them know they're there. If you have Dembélé running around all the time, Doué doing all the same, 𝙀𝙀𝘾𝘼 doing all the same, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them. Dragging defenders out of position, I think it's going to cause Real Madrid a lot of problems. I would expect to see that. I don't know if Real Madrid is going to press. I think they did obviously start to press a bit more against Juve, so on and so forth. But the thing with pressing is, if you can't press well, it's better you don't do it at all. A bad press is going to get absolutely rinsed, cooked, played apart, picked apart easily. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that aspect as well. I would expect PSG to dominate possession, to have most of the ball, to perhaps create most of the chances, and to be more dominant, air quotes, in the game. But the thing is, though, is that Madrid, I guess historically, want to go in the last 15 years and whatnot, has been a team that can really hurt you on the counterattack. Especially when you think of the counterattacking threat they have in Vinny, in MBAPPE, in Fede Valverde, who can push up as well. PSG is going to have to be careful. But to get on to sort of my prediction for the game, I think it's going to be a really tight game. All said and done, Madrid can cause PSG some problems, and Madrid can beat PSG. What if PSG showed that, yes, PSG you could say is the best team in the world, but they're not invincible. PSG was shown early on in the season. It's been shown at this Club World Cup. Even in that Bayern game, you could go and say that Bayern, if they'd won, you could say maybe it was a bit against the run of play, but it would have been deserved as well. So Madrid do have things, weapons at their disposal to hurt PSG. And I'd say that along with Bayern Munich, it's probably going to be our toughest bout thus far in this Club World Cup. So we'll have to wait and see. My prediction is, so I think PSG get through, but it's going to be a tight game. I say a cheeky 2-1. It's going to be tight. It's going to be nervy, but I think PSG edged it out just because of the quality and also the fact that a bit of the inexperience, unfamiliarity with Madrid's game. But that's my opinion. I think it's going to be a game for the ages. It's going to be a game that I hope everybody's going to be able to enjoy, whether you're a PSG fan, Real Madrid fan, or a neutral. And to finish this thing off, I have a question in particular for a certain community, the other Spanish club, FC Barcelona, because I think perhaps for them, this is probably the worst game. This is the worst game, and it's been seen by some Barca fans and seen in my comment section to the Barca fans. Who are you supporting? Because, hey, normally I would think, all things aside, Ballon d'Or aside, this should be an easy decision. For all the things, PSG, so on and so forth, the beef between PSG, Barca, hey, at the end of the day, it's PSG, Barca. It's a European rivalry, yes. Real Madrid are your biggest ops. Real Madrid, historically, if you want to go, the politics, so on and so forth, the capital, the Madridistas, Castille, were oppressing Catalan culture. That was in PSG. That was not Paris. There were some things that happened, in the 60s, so on and so forth. That was not PSG. Remember who the OG ops are. All this for a Ballon d'Or? Come on, guys, be serious. Be serious. You guys want Real Madrid to win, potentially go, because I think whoever wins in this game goes into the final as favorites. No disrespect to Chelsea. I think whichever team gets out of this game goes into that game as favorites. So if Real Madrid win this game, you'd rather Real Madrid win this game and potentially go in favorites to win the Club World Cup, the first ever edition of it, where Barca was not in it, to hold over you guys forever, already having the first ever Champions League, than PSG, a team that, okay, yes, there's a rivalry, but it's not Real Madrid. These are your biggest ops for a Ballon d'Or. It's an individual trophy. It's not even a collective trophy. You gotta, come on, choose wisely. Choose wisely. But I know some of you out there are still gonna be like, nah, I don't care. Personally, I don't get that. But hey, to each their own. You're allowed to choose and support and not support who you want. But that's the end of the video. We'll try to get this video out as quickly as possible. It's been a pleasure having you guys on. And whatever happens, hopefully we're gonna enjoy a good game. It's gonna be one to remember. And with that, thank you very much. And remember, stay safe, stay kind, and stay blessed. Godspeed.